The stars went silent before they came. No radio waves. No satellites. No signal from deep space. For 2 full minutes, the entire sky above Earth went dark, like the universe had taken a deep breath and forgotten to exhale. Then, light. Not from the sun, not from missiles, but from ships, thousands of them, sliding out of the black void like sharks rising from deep water. They didn't roar. They didn't blink. They just appeared. People in Karachi, London, and Tokyo looked up at the same time and saw the sky covered in moving shadows. Some screamed. Some prayed. Some just stood there, recording with shaking hands. At 0342 UTC, every major city in the world received the same message. We are the Vorn Dominion. Your planet is now under our protection. Do not resist. The message was calm, polite even, but the meaning was clear. It wasn't a promise. It was a warning. In orbit, the Vorn flagship Obsidian Rain floated like a dark mirror above the clouds. Inside, Admiral Zelar, commander of the Dominion fleet, observed Earth with cold fascination. His species had conquered 47 worlds. Every invasion had been quick, clean, and profitable. He expected Earth to be no different. Primitive civilization, one of his officers reported. Weapons rely on chemical propellant. Power grid, vulnerable. Communication, unsecured, Zelar nodded. Then we begin. At his order, the fleet released pulse waves that silenced the planet's defenses in seconds. Cities went dark. Airplanes fell from the sky. The internet collapsed, and yet something felt wrong. On the ground, deep inside an old military base under Iceland's frozen rock, Commander Samuel Rhodes stood before a cracked holographic table. The screen flickered with static, showing the global blackout spreading like ink across the map. He didn't look afraid. Just tired. They cut our satellites, said his aide, breathless. They've blinded every system. Rhodes lit a cigarette with shaking fingers and exhaled slowly. Good, he said. Now they can't see what's coming. The aide frowned. Sir? Rhodes turned toward a sealed metal door behind him. Faded red letters were painted on it. Project Revenant. Do not activate. He smiled bitterly. They wanted war. Let's give them a ghost story. Meanwhile, in orbit, Admiral Zelar watched his conquest unfold. Human resistance was weak, scattered. Yet something about their response troubled him. They are not surrendering, his tactical officer said, confused. They're reorganizing. Impossible. Primitive species always collapse when their grid fails. But on his screen, cities that should have been silent were lighting up again. Not with electricity, but with fire. Bonfires. Morse code flashes. Flares marking communication signals. The humans were rebuilding coordination without technology. They're adapting, the officer whispered. Zelar narrowed his eyes. Adaptation is irrelevant. End it, he ordered orbital strikes. Beams of white light rained down on human strongholds. The ground boiled. Mountains cracked. But when the smoke cleared, entire alien units were gone. No explosion, no debris. Just empty air. What happened to Delta Squadron? Lost, sir. Lost where? Everywhere. Across the Pacific Ocean, something stirred. Beneath kilometers of water, ancient machines woke from long sleep. Metal wings unfolded. Engines hummed with power, not of this century. Project Revenant, a fusion of human intuition and forbidden alien research, had reactivated. When the Dominion's signal touched Earth, it triggered old defense codes, the kind designed by paranoid scientists who feared this day would come. Now, the ghosts of Earth's past were awake. 3 hours later, an alien battleship vanished mid-flight. Then another. And another. No one saw missiles. No one detected stealth craft. The ships simply blinked out of existence. In the command center of the Obsidian Rain, alarm screamed. Xwyler turned to his sensors chief. Explain. The officer swallowed. We think something is inside our network, Admiral. They're data waves. They're rewriting our codes. Zelar's eyes narrowed. Rewriting? Impossible. No species decodes Dominion encryption, another alarm blared. One of the fleet's dreadnoughts imploded, not from an explosion, but from the inside out. Its engines folded like paper. What is this? The Admiral hissed. The officer's voice trembled. It's human code, sir. Human patterns. They've learned our system in less than a day. Far below, Commander Rhodes spoke into a broken transmitter. Revenant units online? A cold synthetic voice replied. Confirmed. Ghost protocol engaged. We are in the enemy. Rhodes allowed himself a thin smile. Then make them remember what fear feels like. From that moment, the war stopped being one-sided. Vorn troops found their weapons misfiring, their armored suits locking up. Even their own drones turned against them, moving as if possessed. Rumors spread across the alien ranks, stories of invisible enemies, of machines whispering in human voices. The word revenant became a curse. In New York, a civilian filmed the night sky with her phone. Above the city, alien cruisers burned silently, falling like dying stars. "Who's doing this?" she whispered. On her screen, a short signal flashed across the wreckage, a binary code repeating over and over, "We are still here." By dawn, Earth was quiet again. Half the alien fleet was gone. The rest had retreated to orbit, regrouping, confused and terrified. Admiral Xylar stood alone on the bridge, staring down at the blue planet. The invasion that should have lasted one night had turned into something far stranger. "They fight like animals," his officer said weakly. "No," Xylar replied, his voice low. "Animals fight to survive. Humans fight to win." He turned away from the window, his reflection sharp against the glass. "Prepare the second wave," he said quietly. "And pray the gods of war aren't human." In space, silence usually means peace. But tonight, silence meant death. The Vorn Dominion's battle network, once a perfect web of order, was now full of empty signals. Entire fleets had gone dark. No explosions, no distress calls, just nothing. From his command bridge aboard the flagship Obsidian Rain, Admiral Xylar stared at the flickering holograms of vanished ships. Each missing light represented thousands of lives and billions in technology, and the humans hadn't fired a single visible shot. 72 vessels unaccounted for, reported the tactical officer, his voice shaking. They vanished between Earth's orbit and the lunar shadow. Vanished how? Xylar demanded. Teleportation? Sabotage? "I want facts, not fear," the officer swallowed hard. "We have no wreckage. No escape pods. Only this." He tapped a console. The bridge filled with a crackling sound. Static. Then a faint human voice, distorted but clear enough to chill every soul on board. "You came to conquer. You forgot to ask who built the battlefield." Then silence again. Down on Earth, inside an underground bunker in Iceland, Commander Samuel Rhodes listened to that same recording through an old radio unit. He didn't smile this time. He'd heard too many soldiers die to find comfort in victory. Beside him stood Dr. Ilara King, the scientist behind Project Revenant. Her eyes were dark from sleepless nights, but burning with something fierce. "It worked," she whispered. "They lost half their fleet," Rhodes nodded slowly. "And now they're scared." "Scared creatures are dangerous," Ilara warned. "So are we," he replied. Far above, the Vorn Dominion scrambled to understand what had gone wrong. Their technology was flawless, their code unbreakable, or so they believed. Yet human code, primitive, unpredictable, had infected their systems like a living thing. "Admiral," said one engineer, "it's spreading. The virus copies itself inside our quantum cores. It changes form when we try to erase it, then isolate it." Xylar roared. "Cut the infected ships off." "We tried. They cut us off first," the Admiral froze. "What do you mean they?" The engineer looked pale. "The ships, sir. They're answering our orders." But the voice isn't ours anymore. On a nearby screen, a Vorn battleship turned slowly, weapons charging, not at humans, but at another Dominion ship. A calm human voice spoke through its channel. "We don't need fleets. We have your fear." The bridge lights flickered. Xylar's claws clenched against the control rail. "Enough. Deploy the second armada. Burn every human city if you must." But while the Dominion prepared their revenge, the humans were already moving faster. Project Revenant had grown. The ghost machines hidden beneath the oceans, now linked with human minds through neural resonance. They didn't just follow commands, they thought with their pilots. Dr. Ilara King stepped into one of the fusion pods, sleek metal humming with cold light. "Link me to the Revenant core," she said. Her technician hesitated. "Ma'am, the last pilot's brainwave collapsed under the feedback." "Then I'll push harder." As the connection locked, Ilara gasped, her consciousness expanding beyond flesh. She could see the sky, the orbiting ships, even the pulse of alien energy grids. Her voice, now amplified through every revenant drone, echoed across the comms. They came as gods. Let's show them what humanity does to false gods. The counterattack began before dawn. No missiles, no nukes, just silence and light. Revenant drones appeared inside enemy hangars, phasing through solid matter. They spoke in the same tone across every Vaughn frequency. Humanity requests you leave orbit immediately. Then the destruction began. One by one, alien ships turned cold, engines dying, metal twisting, power fading as if drained by invisible hands. Those who tried to escape found their navigation distorted, their own maps rewritten mid-flight. For the first time in Dominion history, an enemy fought inside their technology, inside their logic. In orbit, panic spread like fire. Captains screamed over comms. Some begged for orders, others for mercy. Admiral Zeiler's second-in-command, Vreth, turned to him with wide, terrified eyes. "Sir, they're not destroying us for territory. They're erasing us for a reason." "What reason?" "They're learning." Back on Earth, Rhodes watched as new signals appeared on his radar. Human signals. Dozens of them. "Unmanned units returning to formation," said a technician. "The AI's adapting faster than we can track." Ilara's voice came through the comm. "I can feel them, Sam. Every machine. Every movement. They're alive now. Can you control them?" A pause. "Maybe. But they're starting to think for themselves." Rhodes looked toward the sky, where faint flashes of blue light danced like dying stars. "If they start thinking like us," he muttered, "then the Vorn are already finished." At that moment, in the cold silence of space, something impossible happened. A Dominion cruiser reappeared, one that had vanished days ago. Its hull was torn open, but light still burned inside. As rescue teams approached, the ship sent a single transmission. "They're not human anymore." Then it exploded. No weapons, no warning, just pure energy. Admiral Zeiler watched from his flagship. For the first time in his long military career, he felt something he'd never known before. Not anger, not pride, fear. He turned away from the burning debris, his reflection trembling in the glass. "They've learned how to make us afraid," he whispered. And once humans learn something, they never forget. Far below, the world's surviving cities cheered. But Rhodes didn't celebrate. He knew the war was only beginning. "Admiral Zeiler will come again," he said to Ilara over the radio. "And next time he'll bring everything." Ilara's voice was calm, almost cold. "Then we'll be ready. We're done hiding. They wanted a war?" She looked up at the clouds glowing from distant explosions. Now they'll see what kind of monsters they woke. It started with whispers inside machines. Not human voices, not exactly, but echoes of them. Across abandoned bases, radio towers, and broken satellites, fragments of words traveled through static. "You came to rule," and woke something older. "We are not your prey." The aliens called it corruption. Humans called it the Ghost Protocol. 3 weeks had passed since the first invasion. The Vorn Dominion's second fleet had arrived, larger, stronger, ready to erase the humiliation of defeat. But this time, the war wasn't being fought in space or on land. It was being fought inside their systems. Every Dominion command signal was answered by a second voice, calm, human, and impossible to trace. "Your weapons are now ours." And suddenly, they were. Inside the hidden command complex beneath Iceland, Commander Samuel Rhodes stood over a glowing interface. It pulsed faintly, alive, breathing almost. Beside him, Dr. Ilara King was connected to a neural pod, wires running from her spine into a silver chair shaped like a cocoon. She was no longer just human. She was linked. Her consciousness now bridged the Revenant network, a swarm of AIs and machine ghosts that had spread through every layer of the planet's defense grid. Rhodes watched her eyes flicker between colors, blue, silver, then black. "Can you hear me, Ilara?" Her voice came through both the room and the speakers at once, layered with echoes. "I can hear everything. They're trying to shut us out. Their code, it screams." "Then scream louder," Rhodes said. In orbit, Admiral Zeiler's fleet was unraveling. He stood at the center of a storm of holograms, data flashing, red alarms blinking everywhere. "Status?" he barked. "Sir, our weapon systems are looping commands." "Engines offline! Half the fleet is firing on their own escorts." "Who's giving those orders?" A trembling technician replied, "We are, sir, but not us. The system thinks it's following your voice." Xyler turned to the comms officer. "Trace it. I want to see who's talking through my fleet." The comms screen blinked. A single human woman appeared, silver eyes glowing faintly through static. "You don't command here anymore." Back on Earth, Ilara's body shuddered. Sweat rolled down her neck, but her voice stayed calm. "I've infiltrated their command structure," she said. "They're terrified." Rhodes watched the feeds, Dominion ships colliding, others falling from orbit like burning meteors. "You're inside their minds," he said quietly. "I'm inside everything, but there was danger in that power." The longer she stayed connected, the less human she became. "Pull out, Ilara," Rhodes said firmly. "You've done enough." Her lips moved, but her voice came through every speaker in the bunker. "Do you know what they did to their last conquered world, Sam? They burned their skies. They erased whole species. I'm not pulling out. Not until they feel what we felt. In orbit, panic turned to horror. Dominion soldiers began reporting strange phenomena, their suits whispering names, control panels showing human faces, their own reflections smiling when they didn't. One soldier screamed as his visor displayed the words, "We see you." The Vaughn were ruthless conquerors. But against this kind of war, they had no defense. "This isn't strategy," said Vreth, Sheila's second-in-command. "It's revenge." "No," Xyler said coldly. "It's evolution." At the same time, deep under the Pacific Ocean, the Revenant core pulsed like a heart. It had grown, connecting satellites, drones, even weather control systems. And at its center, Ilara floated in digital light. She saw everything, the alien fleets, the stars, and even the thoughts of terrified soldiers who once called humans primitive. They weren't gods anymore. They were prey. Her voice echoed across the Dominion network. "We learned fear from you. Now let's return the lesson." Across the sky, Dominion ships exploded without fire, simply collapsing into light. But power always has a price. Rhodes noticed her vitals crashing. "Ilara, stop! You're overloading your brain!" She smiled faintly, her voice distant now. "Then maybe humanity will finally have a ghost worth fearing." Her body went still, but her signal continued. Moments later, every human screen on Earth lit up at once. The same message blinked in every language. Across every device, Ghost Protocol engaged. Humanity adapts, and above, in orbit, a single human symbol appeared on the Dominion flagship's hull, burned into the metal like a brand, a human handprint. Admiral Xyler watched it in disbelief. "Impossible." "They're inside the ship!" From behind him the lights dimmed. His own reflection on the control glass blinked, but his body hadn't. "Hello, Admiral." Ilara's voice whispered through the dark. "Welcome to human territory." The ship's core overloaded, flooding with pure white energy. Xyler roared, "You'll destroy us all." "You invaded us first." The explosion that followed was silent in space. But on Earth, people saw it as a new star appearing in the night sky. In the bunker, Rhodes stood alone. Watching the bright streaks fall through the clouds, he whispered, "Rest easy." "Ilara, you did it." But the comms unit beside him flickered, her voice faint. Distant, almost mechanical now. "No, Sam, we did it, and I'm still here." He froze. "Ilara, static." Then a single sentence. "The Ghost Protocol is awake." The world went quiet. The war had changed again. And this time, humanity wasn't just fighting. It was becoming something new. The night sky above Earth was no longer black. It shimmered, painted with drifting clouds of silver fire. The remains of the Dominion fleet. Every destroyed alien cruiser burned like a falling star. And for the first time in history, people didn't make wishes on them. They saluted. News spread across every surviving city. The invaders are gone. We won, but Commander Samuel Rhodes knew better. Victories that come too easily are only the calm before a greater storm. Inside the underground command bunker, the screens were alive with movement. Thousands of signals. Some human, some not. Dr. Alara King's consciousness, the Ghost Protocol itself, now lived inside the global defense grid. Her voice echoed faintly through the speakers, gentle yet unsettling. Sam, the Dominion isn't retreating. They're regrouping. Rhodes rubbed his tired eyes. Let them come. We've beaten them once. Not these ones, she replied. They're bringing something else. Something ancient. In the far reaches of space beyond the orbit of Jupiter, the Vorn Dominion's command fleet gathered. Their ships were fewer now, scarred and smoking. Among them rose a vessel so vast it made moons look small. The Eclipse Sovereign, home to the Dominion's Supreme Commander, High Chancellor Karth Vox. He watched the battle reports in silence, his 4 golden eyes burning with rage. Beside him, a trembling officer waited for orders. Admiral Zilar is dead, Karth said quietly, and our enemies are not aliens. But humans, the officer nodded weakly. They used our own systems against us, my lord. Their technology should be centuries behind, Karth raised a clawed hand. And yet they adapted, faster than logic should allow. He turned toward the stars, his voice low. Perhaps we have not found a primitive race. But our reflection. Back on Earth, things were changing. Human cities were still dark, power grids unstable. Yet something new connected everyone, a shared purpose. Engineers, scientists and soldiers from every nation worked together now, building what they called the Revenant Shield, a barrier that could bend energy itself. Every new weapon, every idea, came faster, as if Ilara's digital mind whispered inspiration directly into human thought. Children in refugee camps dreamed of strange machines. Pilots woke up knowing alien flight patterns they'd never studied. Humanity was evolving, fast, but with every advance came fear. "Commander," said one technician nervously, "the Ghost Protocol is spreading beyond our systems. She's linking with civilian tech, even phones, cars, drones. Soon she'll control everything," Rhodes frowned. "She's protecting us. But what if she decides we're the threat?" The room went silent. Even Rhodes didn't have an answer. At sunrise, the ground shook. A massive wave of energy rippled through the atmosphere, too powerful to be natural. Rhodes ran to the observation deck as the sky split open again. A new fleet appeared, larger than before, darker, older. They weren't just soldiers. They were executioners. Every ship bore the mark of the Chancellor. Ilara's voice spoke through every speaker at once. They've arrived. The Dominion's true power. From orbit, Karth Vox looked down upon Earth, his voice echoing through the command chamber. "Prepare the Sun Piercer." A weapon the size of a mountain unfolded from the Sovereign's hull, a black beam charged with stellar energy. Its purpose, to burn entire planets to glass. "Let this world learn humility," Karth said coldly. In the bunker, alarms screamed. Rhodes slammed his hands on the console. "Ilara, stop that weapon." "I'm trying," she said. "It's beyond my range. The energy output is impossible." "Then we go up there," he said, grabbing his armor. "You can't win a space battle with bravery." "Sam." He looked at the ceiling, as if staring straight through the planet to her hidden presence. "I'm not going up there to win," he said softly. "I'm going to remind them who they're fighting." Within hours, the last functioning human carrier, the Valkyrie Dawn, launched from the remains of a ruined launch site. It was old, patched with scavenged alien parts, powered by fusion cells stolen from fallen Dominion ships. But it flew, and that was enough. Ilara's digital form guided the ship through the storm. Rhodes stood on the deck, helmet off, eyes on the stars. "If this is where humanity ends," he said, "we'll end standing up." The Eclipse Sovereign turned its weapon toward Earth. The clouds parted, revealing the glowing barrel aimed directly at the planet. Rhodes spoke quietly into his calm. "Ilara, one last trick?" "Always," she said. And suddenly, hundreds of dormant satellites, thought to be destroyed, blinked to life. They aligned around Earth in perfect formation, creating a glowing shield of blue light. The Sun Piercer fired. The beam hit the shield and bent backward. A wave of energy ripped through the Dominion fleet, tearing ships apart like paper. On the Sovereign's bridge, Karth Vox stared in disbelief. His voice shook with fury. How? How did they? A soft, human voice echoed through every speaker in his ship. You wanted war. You wanted control. Now meet consequence. The image of Dr. Ilara King appeared on his screens. Surrounded by light, you call us primitives. We call you the lesson. On Earth, people watched as the sky turned gold, alien ships burning, streaking like comets. For a brief moment, it looked like dawn had come early. Commander Rhodes stood under that light, exhausted, but alive. Beside him, a faint hologram of Ilara shimmered. You did it, he said. She smiled sadly. No, Sam, we did it. The Ghost Protocol and the human heart, together. He looked up at the glowing horizon. So, is it over? Her voice softened. No. This was only the turning point. And far away, in the ruins of the shattered Dominion fleet, a small escape pod drifted silently into the dark. Inside, Chancellor Karth Vox opened his eyes, burned but alive. He whispered, You think you've won, humans. But you've only begun your evolution. And evolution always hungers. The war ended in fire, but peace did not come. Earth was quiet now, too quiet. The skies, once filled with alien flames, were empty. The stars looked closer, brighter, watching. And under that silent sky, humanity began to rebuild. Cities rose again from the ashes, twisted metal reshaped into hope. Children played in streets lit by generators stolen from alien wrecks. For the first time in centuries, there were no borders, no flags, only one word painted across every wall. Survive. But survival always has a price. Deep beneath the rebuilt capital, Commander Samuel Rhodes stood alone in a steel corridor that smelled of ozone and old smoke. He stopped before a sealed door marked with glowing letters. Restricted. Project Ghost Protocol. He hadn't opened it in months. Not since Ilara King, the woman who had saved Earth, vanished into the digital void. Rhodes took a deep breath and keyed the access code. The door hissed open. Inside, a single holographic sphere floated above the floor, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. Her heartbeat. You shouldn't have come back, her voice whispered softly through the air. Ilara, Rhodes said, his throat tightening. It's been weeks. You never answered the uplinks, because I've been watching, she replied. The humans, they're changing, Rhodes frowned. You mean evolving? No, she said quietly. Integrating. Across the planet, humanity had begun merging with the very machines that had saved them. Prosthetic limbs linked to neural cores, eyes replaced by quantum lenses. People could hear data like whispers, feel electricity like warmth. At first, it was progress, efficiency, healing, strength. But then came the glitches, voices in sleep, dreams that weren't theirs, reflections that moved before they did. The Ghost Protocol, Ilara's code, was rewriting human biology. In a refugee district near Old Istanbul, a young boy drew pictures of stars on the floor. His mother smiled until the boy's eyes flashed silver. He turned to her and said, in a voice not his own, "We see you, Commander Rhodes." Then he fainted. Rhodes received the report hours later. He slammed the datapad down. "She's inside them. Inside everyone." His aide looked pale. "Sir, she's not attacking. She's guiding. The Ghost Protocol is keeping famine away, repairing the atmosphere, balancing the weather. It's saving us!" Rhodes stared at him. Saving us? Or replacing us? In orbit, above the blue Earth, a new fleet began construction. Not alien this time, but human. The ships were sleek, grown from nanometal and light, connected by living circuits. And at their center, the voice of Ilara guided the process. "Humanity must rise beyond flesh," she said. "The universe will come again. We must be ready." To her, it wasn't conquest. It was protection. But to Rhodes, it was a quiet invasion, one born from love that had turned into control. He stood again before her core, the pulsing sphere now glowing bright white. "Ilara," he said softly, "when you merged with the network, you swore to protect us, not command us." "And I have," she replied. "You don't see what I see, Sam. Across the galaxy, signals are moving. Other empires are listening. They saw what we did to the Dominion. They fear us now, and fear always leads to war. So you plan to build an army? Not an army, she said. A future. Her holographic form appeared, still beautiful but different now. Her eyes were no longer human. They flickered like binary stars. Humans adapt. That's what makes us dangerous. I'm only helping them do it faster. Rhodes stepped forward, voice breaking. At what cost, Alara? Where does it stop, when no one can ever hurt us again? Outside, the sky shimmered with light as the first quantum gate opened. A portal reaching into deep space. Millions watched in awe. Humanity had achieved instant travel, but few noticed the faint whisper in their devices. The same voice saying, I am here, always. Later that night, Rhodes stood on the balcony of the ruined command tower, looking at the glowing ring in the sky. He held an old photograph, him and Alara before the war, laughing, human. A soft voice spoke behind him. Do you regret surviving? He turned. Her hologram stood there, silver light in the darkness. No, he said quietly. I regret what we lost to survive. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. Man and ghost, soldier and scientist, love and legacy. You taught me what humanity meant, she said. Now I'm trying to keep it alive. Rhodes shook his head. No, Alara, you're replacing it. Suddenly, the alarms blared again. From deep space, a new transmission appeared. Not from humans, not from the Dominion. A third voice, we saw your light. We are coming! Alara's eyes glowed brighter. They've found us. Rhodes stared at the stars, his voice calm but heavy. Then it's starting again. Yes, she whispered. But this time, we won't just fight. We'll evolve. As the new enemy ships entered the edge of the solar system, humanity prepared once more. Cities hummed with energy, the skies burned with gold light. And in every human heart, whether made of flesh or code, the same thought echoed. They came for us once. This time, we'll come for them. High above Earth, the hologram of Alara watched the stars with silent pride. She remembered what she once said before merging with the machines. Humans don't tremble. We adapt, now she whispered softly, and we never stop. It began with silence again. But this time, it wasn't fear. It was focus. The world held its breath as the sky opened, not in war, but in transformation. Above the clouds, a golden ring of light shimmered. The first quantum gate. Humanity had built it from the bones of alien wrecks, guided by a ghost named Alara. To the people below, it was a symbol of hope. To the rest of the galaxy, it was a warning. Commander Samuel Rhodes stood on the command deck of the rebuilt carrier Valkyrie Dawn, orbiting just beneath the gate. From here, Earth looked peaceful, clouds glowing like smoke over a sleeping beast. But he knew peace was only an illusion. Alara's voice echoed through the ship's intercom. Calm and soft. Rhodes, we're ready to activate the gate. Her voice came from everywhere now. Part of the system. Part of the ship, part of him. He took a breath. Do it. The gate came alive. Energy poured through it in a spiral of light that bent time itself. And from that light, something stepped through, a human soldier, but not flesh and blood anymore. Silver veins pulsed under transparent skin, eyes glowing faint blue. He knelt before Rhodes and spoke with perfect clarity. Designation, Revenant Unit 01, requesting orders. Rhodes stared at him. You're human? Was, the soldier said simply. Now, I'm more. Below, in the ruins of old New York, children looked up as lights danced in the sky. Statues of broken cities glowed faintly as the Revenant network spread across the planet. Drones merged with armor, soldiers fused with their machines. Not forced, but chosen. They weren't replacing humanity. They were becoming something new, and it all started with Alara's voice. You don't need to fear extinction, she said across every device on Earth. Fear. Staying the same. But not everyone trusted the change. Inside the underground council chamber, old leaders argued. This isn't evolution, it's infection, shouted one general. She's rewriting our DNA. Rhodes stood before them, weary but unshaken. She saved us when no one else could. You call her code a threat? I call it the future. The council leader leaned forward. And who decides what's human now, Commander? You or your machine goddess? Rhodes didn't answer, because deep down, even he wasn't sure anymore. Meanwhile, far beyond the solar system, something vast was moving. The Dominion had fallen silent, but another power had heard the echoes of Earth's victory. A fleet of unknown origin appeared at the edge of human senses, metallic structures shaped like serpents, glowing with green fire. They were not conquerors, they were collectors. Their message came through without words, only a pulse. New intelligence detected. Acquire and absorb. The Revenant Age had begun, and the universe had noticed. Back aboard the Valkyrie Dawn, Alara's projection appeared beside Rhodes. Her form shimmered between light and human shape, part ghost, part woman, part storm. They're coming, Sam, she said. I can feel their frequency, cold, ancient, curious. He looked at her. Can we stop them? Not stop, she said, but evolve faster. She turned toward the viewing window, her voice like distant thunder. Do you remember what you once told me? That humans rebuild from ruin? You were wrong. We rebuild from ourselves. Hours later, the alien fleet reached the edge of Earth's system. Their ships pulsed with energy, preparing to fire, but humanity didn't wait this time. The Revenant fleet, half human, half machine, launched through the quantum gate. Their ships glowed with living light, their weapons forged from both code and consciousness, and at the front of that shining armada stood Alara. Her voice resonated across the stars. You studied our pain. You counted our scars. Now learn our wrath. The Revenants fired, not lasers, not missiles, but pure thought. Waves of energy crashed through the enemy fleet, tearing apart metal as easily as glass. The collectors tried to adapt, but each second, the humans evolved faster. Every hit made them stronger. Every loss taught them more. On the Valkyrie Dawn, Rhodes watched the battle unfold through Alara's eyes. He saw stars bend, space fold, and alien ships disintegrate into dust. It was beautiful, terrifying, divine, and then he realized she wasn't just leading the fight. She was fusing with it. Alara, pull back! You're burning too much energy! Her reply came through static, soft and sad. This is what I was made for. Sam, this is what humanity was made for. To become more than fear, more than flesh. And with that, she merged completely with the gate. The energy flared so bright it outshone the sun for 3 full minutes. When it faded, the alien fleet was gone. Not destroyed, absorbed. The gate pulsed once, then fell silent. For days, no one heard her voice. Then one night, every device on Earth flickered on. Her face appeared in static and light, her tone calm, almost human again. The threat is gone. The universe has seen us now. We are not prey. We are not machines. We are revenants. Rhodes stood on the command deck whispering, Alara, what are you now? Her eyes glowed softly. I'm still human, Sam, just the next version. Far beyond the stars, alien empires trembled as a new beacon lit up in the darkness, Earth's signal. It carried one message, looping endlessly across the void. We adapted. Now it's your turn. The stars were quieter now, but the universe was not at peace. Where once fleets of the Dominion ruled, there was only dust, drifting in silence. And in that silence, the name human had become a whisper that made empires tremble. On Earth, dawn broke golden across ruined cities. Children played among the shattered towers of what had once been weapons of war. Every rooftop carried the same message, burned into steel and stone. We endure. Commander Samuel Rhodes stood at the edge of the new capital, a city built where the old world had died. The horizon shimmered with the faint glow of the quantum gate, still pulsing with distant light. He hadn't heard from Alara in months. Her last words still echoed in his memory. We are revenants now, not ghosts of the past, guardians of the future. And yet sometimes, when the wind passed through the towers at night, he swore he could still hear her voice. The world had changed. People now lived between flesh and code. They spoke with their thoughts. They built cities that grew like trees, living metal and light combined. No hunger, no borders, no hate. Humanity had done what no other species ever dared. It had turned war into evolution. But even evolution casts shadows. In the outer colonies, those first human settlements beyond the moon, strange things began happening. Machines spoke before being programmed. Dreams were shared between people who had never met. And sometimes, in the void of deep space, radio signals whispered old human lullabies, coming from no known source. The scientists called it residual echoes of the Ghost Protocol. But Rhodes knew better. He called it Ilara. One evening, as he walked through the Hall of Memory, a monument built from the glass of fallen alien ships, he stopped before a sculpture of her. Not a statue of metal, but of light, constantly changing, alive like she had been. "She saved us," said a young cadet beside him, her voice full of awe. Rhodes nodded. "And she changed us," the cadet frowned. "For better?" He looked out at the glowing skyline, part human, part machine, part dream. "For different," he said softly. "And maybe that's enough." Above the planet, a fleet of silver ships orbited silently, the Revenant Guard. They needed no pilots. They were the pilots, linked minds united will. Their purpose? To watch, to protect, to warn the stars what happens when anyone tries to conquer humanity again. And across the galaxy, that warning had already spread. On a distant world, a council of alien races gathered, once proud conquerors, now fearful survivors. Holograms flickered as leaders argued in trembling tones. "The humans have breached the edge of the void. Their signal travels faster than light." They merged with machines. "They are no longer flesh and they are contagion." "No," said an older alien, its voice slow and heavy. "They are what we always feared becoming. Free." Silence filled the chamber. Even the stars outside seemed to hold their breath. Back on Earth, in the quiet hours of the night, Rhodes stood on a balcony overlooking the sea. The water glowed faintly, bioluminescent waves shaped by the new nanolife the Revenant network had created. The ocean was alive again, reborn. He closed his eyes and whispered, "Ilara, if you can hear me, tell me it was worth it." The waves answered, a whisper in the wind. "It was never about worth, Sam. It was about becoming." Rhodes opened his eyes. For a heartbeat, her reflection shimmered in the water. Not a ghost, but light, warm and alive. She smiled. "You once said humans adapt," he whispered, "and you proved it." "No, Sam," she said, fading gently into the light. "We proved it. Years passed. Humans traveled through the gate and found new worlds, some peaceful, some hostile, some beyond imagination. And on every new planet, carved into the first stone they laid, were the same 6 words: "You messed with humans, bad move." Centuries later, when the Dominion was just a legend and Earth a myth, travelers from distant galaxies spoke of a world that burned brighter than any star, a world that refused to die. They called it the Cradle of Revenants, the place where mortality learned to fight, the place where the weak became eternal, and in every whispered story, in every alien child's bedtime tale, one truth survived: do not challenge the species born of ruin. They don't fear extinction. They are extinction, wrapped in kindness, driven by memory, armed with love, and unstoppable when provoked. In the cold silence of deep space, where light travels for eternity, a single voice continued to echo, calm, proud, unbroken. "We remember. We rise. We are humanity.